Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we're going to be checking out a piece by the career 3D artist that is Max Hay. This episode, we're going to be talking about the digital rendering, we're going to talk about mixed media expression, and we're also going to talk about that one thing we share as mortal beings. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, this is a motion picture piece, so I have some still screenshots from the piece here to look at. So whenever you first see this work, really met with this lone skull set in center right. It's kind of gliding towards the left region of the spatial composition. Our initial impression is likely a revelatory moment as it kind of slowly disintegrates before our eyes, right? And so the placement of our subject slightly off center is a bit important here. Of course, it causes the viewer to interact with the work a bit deeper, and so you'll see that here, right? It's going to start a little bit on that right region, but as it glides across the canvas, certainly going to catch your eye, and of course this is also aided by this brilliant light on dark contrast against that midnight black backing, right? And so our setting is quite interesting here. It is very barren. It almost looks kind of intergalactic in a way. It looks like another planet in some ways. It's extremely desolate, and then you have this kind of smoky midnight background. We don't have many elements in the composition, so the lack of elements here is going to draw and focus our attention on our single subject set in center here, right? And in the realm of color, we do see this kind of near-monochromatic scheme. I see a little bit of blue, see maybe a little bit of kind of yellowish orange there, but all in all, of course, this very monochromatic scheme, near-monochromatic, is going to emphasize the subject set in center there. And so what you'll see here is incredible use of texture, right? We see that on the rocks, we see that most notably on our subject as this kind of rough texture. There's actually this really unique juxtaposition, right? What you'll see is, of course, it looks extremely rigid, the skull very hard, right? But near the end of the work, you'll see it kind of flowing away like dust, almost as light as a feather. So there's really unique contrast, this kind of juxtaposition of this rigid texture, but as it kind of flows away, very light and delicate like simple dust. So that's quite interesting there. I refer to that as a kind of flurry, and I hope y'all see that there as well. And so what you'll see here, of course, it's kind of breaking apart right before our eyes, right? It starts completely whole. There are some cracks within it, but as time progresses, it just gets worse and worse. So it slowly kind of disintegrates and even decays before our eyes, right? Such a scene truly reminds of the decay that is common to our final end. And so what you'll notice here, if you look at the original video, is there's this really nice piece of music that's under it. So it's extremely edited as well. And there's this extremely kind of shouting bass tone that goes throughout the work at hand. It feels impossible to look away, and I think that's incredibly important here. The impact of music cannot be understated. It also adds a very kind of cinematic element to the work at hand, right? It immerses us within such a kind of profound, very powerful scene, trying to remind of death for sure. And so, of course, as mortal beings, there's one thing which we all share in common, right? And that is the death and the end there. And so the skull, for example, has been a very, very important symbol for really countless millennia at this point, and this is quite common, right? Whether it's a reminder of death all the way to the darkest scenes of history, the skull is a very common symbol that we see quite often, right? And so, like I said, as mortal beings, we are defined by a kind of limited end to this life, right? And that makes life very important. We have to cherish and kind of keep sacred the moments that we have here. I think that's incredibly important. And so, as mortal beings, it's incredibly important to always remind ourselves of that final end, right? And so just like Memento Mori, it's important to always remember of our final end as we all share death in common, right? So live life to the fullest. This is a 3D rendering, so it was made in the Blender rendering program. I believe it was also animated in the Blender program as well, so that makes this a mixed media work. Of course, you have 3D art, and then you animate that as well, two very important mediums. And aside from that, the original artist here, Max Hay, I believe this is his 13th showcase to date. I've studied a lot of Max Hay's art. I absolutely love this artist. The artist even moved into the animations, especially kind of early this year, very early this year. I remember showcasing one of his older works, and now we have, more and more cinematic animations. We absolutely love the quality here. So I hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all did, go check out the original artist, Max Hay. Always doing some really good stuff. Even has some tutorials on YouTube if y'all want to check that out. If y'all want to get into 3D art, Blender, anything like that, I would certainly suggest checking out Max Hay. So I hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about Memento Mori, the reminder of death. We talked about texture, cinematic immersion, the symbolism of the skull, so many different things we point out today. So I hope y'all enjoyed. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Polar Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.